The World Cup group stage leaves zero room for error. Across just 270 minutes of play, a single mistimed tackle or one clinical finish determines which nations progress and which ones face 4 years of post-mortem analysis. Heading into match day 2, South Korea appeared to be in total control. They were coming off a dominant opening victory over Czechia, carrying the momentum of a legacy powerhouse expected to cruise into the knockout rounds. South Africa occupied the opposite end of the spectrum. Their loss to Mexico was characterized by a total lack of cohesion, leaving the squad looking uninspired and struggling for any tactical direction. The domestic reaction was swift and harsh. Fans and media back home were openly questioning manager Hugo Broos, focusing their frustration on his unconventional and highly controversial squad selections. Much of the anger centered on his decision to bench a veteran goalkeeper, with Broos bluntly telling the media he simply didn't know the player well enough to trust him on the world stage. On paper, the gap between the two sides appeared insurmountable. South Korea entered the stadium expecting a straightforward path to the round of 32, while the odds pointed toward an unceremonious early exit for South Africa. While the public focused on the scorelines, a demographic divide between the two rosters was quietly dictating how each team handled the pressure. South Korea relies heavily on high-profile international stars, who are often fatigued by the time they reach the tournament. Players like Son Heung-min arrived carrying both the weight of a nation and the physical toll of grueling seasons in the world's top leagues. South Africa took a radically different approach. Fully 75% of their roster plays domestically within South Africa, a statistic increasingly rare in modern international football. Since this core group competes in the same league every week, they brought a pre-existing chemistry to the national side. They operated as a single, intuitive unit with a shared sense of grassroots responsibility. South Korea, perhaps blinded by their early success against Czechia, entered the match with a detectable level of complacency, as if their superior individual pedigrees would eventually settle the result. When the pressure of a must-win game intensifies, a collective forged in the same domestic system can often find a level of resolve that a disjointed group of stars lacks. That resolve was immediately visible on the pitch. South Africa played with immense hunger, aggressively winning second balls and committing numbers forward, that the favorites were clearly not prepared to absorb. The South Korean response never materialized. Their replacement striker was effectively neutralized by the South African defense, managing only a single shot on target during the entire match. The match also provided total vindication for Hugo Broos and his most controversial selection, his hand-picked captain and goalkeeper, Ronwen Williams. Williams justified his inclusion by making 2 massive, game-saving stops, single-handedly preserving the lead and ensuring the historic victory. This result wasn't a fluke of luck. It was a clear demonstration of how a disciplined collective can physically dismantle an opponent that relies too heavily on reputation. At the final whistle, the weight of the previous weeks of criticism finally lifted. Hugo Broos fell to his knees on the touchline, a moment of pure emotional release after proving his doubters wrong. The victory secured South Africa's place in the round of 32 against Canada. South Korea, meanwhile, was left in 3rd place, their survival dependent on the complex mathematics of goal differentials. The upset handed South Africa a massive logistical advantage, playing at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. Had South Korea advanced, the city's massive Korean demographic would have filled these stands, creating a partisan atmosphere incredibly difficult for Canada to navigate. This single result did more than just secure South Africa's advancement. It shifted the demographic map of the bracket, giving them a much more balanced environment for their knockout debut. While South Africa's story is remarkable on its own, it's actually part of a much broader trend occurring across the entire tournament. We are seeing smaller nations like Cape Verde consistently punch above their weight, matching the world's elite through sheer intensity and defensive discipline. With traditional powers like Morocco and Egypt also moving through, a massive wave of momentum is building across the African continent. These advancing teams share a common resilience. They prioritize national pride and collective effort over technical reputation, making them a threat to any established giant. South Africa's journey proves that in the World Cup, tactical pedigree is only half the battle. A team with absolute hunger and domestic pride can transform a group stage crisis into a historic breakthrough.